Get ready. Garmin Stone Cold Fishing starts right now.
Hey everybody, welcome to Garmin Stone Cold Fishing Live tonight. I have to admit, I've been looking forward to the show all week. We had a little bit of a cold snap, and I'm talking when I was in Des Moines on Tuesday, it was 75. When I got home, it was like 8 degrees. We've got ice building all across the ice belt, and we're getting out. We're getting out fishing, and things are starting to roll. So I'm excited about the show tonight. We got some great topics. We got some great prizes. And we got some great guests tonight. In fact, I'm worried that we're going to get everybody in because we got such a packed show, so it should be kind of fun. Hey, before I bring Danny in, I got one heads up. This coming Sunday, the 26th, we're not going to be on air. We're going to be spending time with friends and family and enjoying the Christmas holiday. But we will be back January 2nd, and I hope you guys continue to join us. We've been having so much fun. It's been pretty awesome. Hey, let's bring on Danny Thompson, a.k.a. the Iceman. Hey, you're back home. That's kind of cool to see those deer back in the background again.
It's kind of good to be home and see the deer in the background again. I can tell you it's been a lot of time at shows and a lot of time behind the wheel, but, that's all part of it. So here we are.
That's awesome. Hey, little known secret, you and I are actually heading out tomorrow fishing for a few days. I'm looking forward to putting some big crappies and some walleyes on the ice, so that should be kind of fun. Yeah. Hey, we're going to have ice updates on two of the most popular fisheries in the upper Midwest. We've got Joe Henry coming in to talk about Lake of the Woods. We've got Zippy Doll out of Perch Patrol on Devil's Lake and another fishery. We're going to find out what the ice conditions are going on in those two fisheries. So if you're looking for a good place to go fishing this week, we'll give you an update on two of the best.
Yeah, and we got a lot to cover tonight, Steve. We're going to have segments on walleyes, giant perch, Basin bluegills. We've also got a segment on the Garmin LiveScope kits. So, if you've already got the head unit and you're looking for an ice kit, we're going to be able to talk about those tonight as well.
So, Danny, we gave away two prizes last week. We gave the Striker 4 ice bundle, and we gave away a Scout 7-inch, the Razr Scout. And you know what happened? We had two women win last week. We had just tons of women. And so I talked to the former president of the Women Anglers of Minnesota group, WAM, and Kristen Merwin. And I really want to explore what makes ice fishing so popular with women. And this is not only for the women that are listening tonight, but also the men, so you can understand more about that. But that's an exciting development in fishing going forward.
The other thing we've got Troy Simonton, the Garmin expert and whiz on this stuff. We've got him answering questions tonight, and he's going to be able to run us through some of the LiveScope stuff. And then, of course, also be able to answer all of the Garmin questions that you guys have. So make sure you comment and ask those questions that you have. We got Troy in the background answering those questions.
Hey, Danny, I don't know if you've seen this photo of Hollywood Simonton, but this guy is not only one of the world's leading experts on LiveScope. He helped design all of the science behind it, but he's also an avid fisherman. So if you got questions tonight, Troy's going to be here again, and he's going to answer all your questions as we're going forward. Hey, we've got some winners to congratulate from last week.
Yeah, for sure. Last week, like you said, we had a lot of the ladies winning the products last week. We've got Kelsey Evelyn that won the Garmin Striker 4 ice bundle. Incredible ice bundle. I know hopefully she can get out on the ice with it here this winter, and great unit. We've also got Rachel Barta, who won the Razr 7-inch Scout Auger. Congratulations to both you ladies. I think we've got their products sent out already, and remember, you can comment, ask questions, and get into the drawings like those ladies did.
It's funny. I've been in a couple of bait shops this week, and Razr's actually been all over. These guys, the orange augers, are taking over, guys. And we've got Nick Cox's in tonight. I want to just ask him because we're giving away another Razr Scout tonight. And if you're not familiar with the product or the product line, I mean, Nick is a great guy to answer some questions. So, Nick, are you available?
I'm here. I'm with you, Steve. Danny, thanks for having me.
I know you've been on the road as much as Danny lately, so it's good to see you back home as well. So if someone's not familiar with the Razr Scout, and we're giving away a 6-inch Razr Scout tonight, what is the Razr Scout compared to, say, other auger companies?
Yeah, so well, Razr ice auger is all we manufacture, and we manufacture very well, in my personal opinion, is ice augers. But the Razr Scout is an auger kit that everything you need comes in the box to hook up to a brushless drill. We also offer a kit that includes a hand auger handle. But these augers are available in 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8-inch hole sizes. So, it's not the typical normal, hey, we're an auger company, you're going to get a 6, 8, or 10-inch hole. Whatever you're fishing for, whatever the purpose of the auger is, whether it be underwater camera work, scouting, panfish, walleyes, the whole gauntlet, we've got a product for you. But what makes it really nice is they're very, very clean cutting and efficient on your drills. The blades, you've got two curved blades with a center point. You can see in the picture here that's showing on the screen. You can adjust the height of our auger from 30 inches to 43. So it's about 3 inches taller than anything else out on the market that hooks up to a brushless drill, which is nice. They're full metal, which is great too. They don't break. We don't have problems with, shavings going back into the holes. And even at full metal, like with the 8-inch size being the largest in the Scout line, that product is 7 pounds. So everything will be 7 pounds or less, full metal. And what's nice about that is we back it with a 3-year warranty. So
and Nick, at retail price, these things are very inexpensive. We're talking under 150, under 140. I mean,
yeah.
What are they running nowadays?
Yeah, so a 4-inch Scout, $94.99, and then all the way up to an 8-inch, you're looking at $134.99. Really at the end of the day, we like to joke around at Razr and say, when you look at Razr against everything else, they're all going to cut. You'll never look down, you'll never see a square, right? They're always going to be a circle. But they're fantastic units, and we definitely encourage people to check them out. The price per hole goes down when you're drilling with a Razr, and they're great quality. So.
That's awesome. So, hey, Nick, I know you've got some Christmas holidays to enjoy tonight. So thanks for joining us tonight. And you guys, if you haven't checked out Razr, it's the orange auger. Just go to Razr, R-A-Z-R, power with an R, not E-R, and check them out online. And you can find them at your favorite retailers. Nick, good to see you, man.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming on. Hey, Danny, like always, if you guys want to win tonight, all we need you to do is like, comment the show, ask questions for Troy, and Kai will be sifting through all the responses tonight, and he'll be sending a winner here at the end of the show tonight. So, and the other good thing is we're going to qualify people tonight to win this Garmin ice bundle back here, the LiveScope ice bundle with the new lithium battery and the new transducer with the single cable on it tonight. So somebody's going to qualify to win for that tonight just by watching and commenting during the show. So that's pretty cool. So one of the things I wanted to do tonight was bring in Troy. Danny, I know you know Troy probably better than anybody in the business. Kind of give us a little clue on who's Troy.
Troy is, he's a really good guy. And he's one of these guys that when we originally wanted to get going with ice fishing stuff, he's so passionate about his job and what he does. And he just kind of stepped right in and started making this stuff. And I mean, he's made a point to come up here to Minnesota and fish with us and really kind of see what was needed and what we have to do to be able to put these things to work on ice versus just mounting them up to a bass boat and whatnot. So it has been really instrumental in really kind of getting this stuff to become, an ice fishing product. I can go out and sell anything when it's a great product like he puts together, so having great engineers behind you really makes it easy for a sales guy like me. So, being able to have that. But the other benefit I think of Troy is just the fact that he's an avid fisherman. I mean, I don't really even know anybody who catches more crappies than Troy does. Whether it's in the boat or on ice, he finally did get to do some ice fishing down there last year. And so, really a big piece of the puzzle here when it comes to the Garmin ice fishing stuff.
Troy, welcome to the Stone Cold Live tonight. One of the questions that came up this week, somebody actually texted it to me and they said, they're losing. He's a newcomer to LiveScope, and he says he's losing the jig on the screen at about 18 feet of water when he's fishing about 30 feet of water. So what can he do to make sure that he can see that that tiny jig all the way down at the bottom in 30 feet of water with LiveScope?
Well, Steve, sometimes it's just the angle of the transducer. I mean, if the jig's not in the beam pattern of the transducer, you won't see it. Other thing that I'd recommend doing is crank the gain up. Don't run it in auto gain. Crank it up to where you have just a little bit of noise on the screen there, and see if that'll bring up the intensity of the jig. And then just if none of that works, try drilling another hole, like maybe 20 feet out from where your ice house or where you're set up with LiveScope. Drop a jig down there and put it in forward mode, and then go back and forth with your transducer and see if you can see it in forward mode. And you'll figure out that it has to be right in the beam pattern of the transducer. That's the biggest thing I see when folks are using it. So
yeah. I typically like to run mine in a separate hole as well. So
yeah.
Great comments. So, hey, Troy, I see a lot of questions already rolling across for you. So I know your fingers are going to get busy. So we're going to let you go for now. But we'll touch in later in the show. But if anybody has questions for Troy, he's here waiting for you guys right now. So should be fun. Hey, Danny, we want to switch over right away to, we're going to, Joe Henry hasn't checked in yet. So we're going to go to Zippy Doll over at Devil's Lake. Have you had a chance to fish Devil's Lake yet?
I've fished it in the summer a few times now, but I've never fished it in the winter. I've been out there duck hunting when it's been frozen, but I have not fished it in the winter yet. I'd love to get out there just from the standpoint of being able to see perch on LiveScope and see what these guys out there are doing. I got a ton of snow bear customers from over in that North Dakota area that fish Devil's Lake and some of those. So definitely on my list to get out there ice fishing. That's for sure.
That's cool. So he's been Steve as partners, but they've been running Perch Patrol for a number of years. In fact, I was out there probably 20 years ago targeting. We actually took the train from Minneapolis out to Devil's Lake, which was kind of fun. But hey, there's nobody more knowledgeable about catching big perch. So let's bring Zippy Doll in.
Hi guys.
Hey, there you are, Steve. How you been?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good.
We're doing good. I'm excited to get out fishing. We haven't had safe ice here yet, and I haven't had the chance time-wise to get out up north. But we're heading out for a three-day trip, and I may be ice fishing out in Montana here at the end of the week. So we'll see what's going to happen out there. But see, the biggest question I had for you right away is how is ice conditions on Devils and area lakes, and where do you guys sit in terms of number of inches on the lake so far?
Well, this last week has really saved our bacon. We sat with 6 inches of ice for a long time, and things just went, it was mid-30 temperatures every day, and really not making much ice, and then we got an 8-inch snowstorm, and a lot of the lake was open during that, so we were kind of lucky there. So the last thing you want is 2-3 inches of ice with 8 inches of snow on it. So, but no, this last was it last Wednesday? We had all the wind throughout the Midwest. It was blew like 50, 60 miles an hour. Well, that blew the cold weather in here, and it's been really nice. We've made another 6 inches, 5 to 6 inches in the last week. So we're actually taking customers out now and feeling safe about it. So
yeah. So I'll run a picture of you. You're known for these giant perch. I mean, you've got thousands, if not tens of thousands, over the years. So if you were to take somebody out that loves perch fishing, they're probably already an avid angler, understands ice fishing at a medium to high level. But if they wanted to target large perch versus dealing with a lot of small perch, what are some of your tips for helping them get on big fish and stay on big fish?
Well, first of all, Steve, the reason our perch get to the size they get to is because of our tremendous food source, and that being our freshwater shrimp. Now, there's a pro and a con to them things because, we're lucky to have them. It gives us very high growth rates, and it gives them that football-shaped appearance. And, to get them perch that go over 1.5 pounds that actually stop you from reeling, those are the ones that we all get excited about. And, but, they're also a very light biting perch too because of all the shrimp in the water. And they really don't have to. It's not like a a lake that's got a minnow forage base where the fish have to actually chase something to eat. Well, these things, you know, I kind of liken it to if we're sitting in our recliner and we have little cheeseburgers going by, you know, all day long, and we don't, why would you start your car, get dressed, and go to a restaurant? Because it's all right there for you. So the bite is light, and their metabolisms are slow anyway in the winter. And then when you average all that in, you really got to be on your toes. As a guide, and I can speak for my entire staff, when we see our guests pile in and each of them have an 18-pack of beer, ain't gonna happen. They don't have the concentration level for what's gonna be required for the day, you know. So
yeah.
You know, you really got to be on your toes and watch that rod tip. It's about like a fly landing on it. Then you add deep water too, where a lot of these perch are being plucked out of 30, 40 feet of water.
So what are you using for lures? What are you using for baits? And talk a little bit about your line choice, especially for that deep water and light bites.
Well, we all tend to gravitate towards, you know, the fire line, or the line that doesn't stretch is huge, because you know, mono doesn't freeze up as much, which is nice. But for these clients, you know, feeling for that little dainty bite, you know, you want very responsive line. That's a key. You know, and I think, you know, the biggest thing, finesse fishing is what this really is. It's kind of funny how you go back in time, you know, and we all learned on the old flasher, the FL8, you know, and you remember them talking about the target separation when
Yeah.
you know, you could your jig would disappear into the red, and then you could still drop it down another 2 feet. Well, now things have improved, and you know, bottom is true bottom, but by habit we all want to fish the edge of that red. You know, and you know, back then we were still 2-3 feet off the bottom, so you got to make those fish come up. You'll never, you know, you always mark one, but if you don't get a second, third, fourth fish in there, you ain't going to catch it. You know what I mean? So that's what it takes to get. It's like you have to recruit those fish into you to get them active. You got to create the frenzy. So,
Almost like a smallmouth bite, you know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So that's some of the tips that we, you know, hey, I'm sorry, I kind of went off on my own here, but lure wise, you know, right now they're hungry. They haven't seen a lure. All the spots are fresh. It's kind of like laying claim to farmland back after when they were giving out all the land and getting your stake in there and getting that spot, because it's you know, so you know, we use a lot of buckshots right now, the smaller buckshot, the rattle spoons, you know, tipped with either, you know, maggots or loaded up with a couple waxies, or maybe even pluck out a perch eye, which is legal here too. But they will eventually get smart to that, and we'll have to start incorporating the smaller jigs, and you know, we like the jigs that kind of fish horizontal. It's easier for them to grab, and we use a lot of tungsten, you know, so.
Yeah.
I know some of the guides in your group have liked fishing some of the fluorocarbon lines, the light stuff, the 3-2s and stuff like that. Are you a fan of the fluorocarbon in that?
Well, a lot of guys make a fluorocarbon leader, you know, off of their,
Yep.
you know, 2, 3, 4 feet of that, you know, with a little swivel or something. You know, I don't know that it makes a whole lot of difference. I guess our water is pretty stained here, so you know, some of that we can get away without doing it. So.
Okay. I like the fact that it sinks. I like the fact that it does stretch.
Right. Yep.
It sits. So talk to a little bit about, you know, just in terms of your search. And if you're not on fish and you've got a group of 4 or 5 guys out there, what's your strategy in terms of when do you move, when do you stay?
Well, that's the thing we wrestle with every day as a guide. Should we stay or should we go? It's nice to have a teamwork of, you know, there's 10 of us out there doing this every day, and we're comparing notes all the time. And, you know, if the bite isn't any better, you know, the next spot down the shoreline, or maybe all the way across the lake or in a different bay, and, you know, it's a front type situation, you know, it gives you that confidence to stay there, because the grass isn't greener so much, you know, so it gives us an advantage that way, I would say. You know, stick, stay, and make them pay. Sometimes that's a lot better than moving, you know, so. Yeah. But we're always looking for, you know, that fresh pot of perch. You know, the fresh find is when there's 4 feet of them things. That's the best time to be here. You know, And then as people fish, as they get pressured, and just us going in there and putting people in there, and then people follow us, and it just fish do what they do. They the only thing they can do is they scatter. Instead of now dealing with fish that are competing for it that are 3-4 feet thick, you're picking at onesie, twosies, and threesies. So
do you have if you get on a school like that and you can avoid getting pounced on by other groups? I mean, is there a strategy to keep these fish going? I like to keep multiple rods going and never leave a fish down there. But what is your strategy to keep them going?
Well, in the water depth that we're fishing, that's why a big advantage is having a 2-person shelter than, guys by themselves. So you've got that extra line down there to keep the fish there. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's a race to get your lure back down there. Bad time to take a picture, bad time to eat a sandwich. That don't happen all the time. It may happen 2-3 times a day. We go through weeks without seeing it if we're in a lot of cold fronts and stuff. So, it's, I always say perch have extreme attention deficit disorder. if they're standing in line for it and you can get it down there, I mean, they're waiting for it. The minute you break, I mean, even if you have to rebait, that's sometimes enough where it screws it up and it's impossible to get the next one to go again. And it's just, they drive you nuts. They're perch.
So, Steve, one last question before we go. If somebody wants to book with Perch Patrol, how do they get a hold of you, and what do you recommend in terms of timing?
So, well, we're fortunate. We're very full. I have a few scattered days left in January. I don't have 2 days in a row left anymore in January. February, I do have some more opportunities for a multi 2-3 day trip. But you can go on our website. We have an availability calendar on there, perchpatrol.com. Or you can call me 701-351-3474. That's our, Perch Patrol reservation line. That thing rings and rings. And or you can call Woodland Resort is a place that we have packages through. But yeah, we want to get you up here and we want to get you fishing, but we're fortunate to be very, very busy. So awesome. People booked early this year. It's crazy. Okay.
Well, Steve, thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. And so it's all rocking and rolling up there. So if anybody wants to get up and fish Devil's Lake, now's the time to get up there. So
right on.
Steve, have a great season. We'll see you on the ice, man.
Thanks, Steve and Dan.
Yep, thank you.
Yep, bye. So, Danny, I got a call from Joe Henry from Lake of the Woods, and he's struggling to get on. So I think I'm just going to call him and bring him on. So anybody that's watching tonight, this is Joe with one of those little Lake of the Woods walleyes. So I'm going to call Joe right now and just see if we can put him on speakerphone here. So, Danny, have you got one that big through the ice?
Oh, I think the biggest I've probably got through the ice is probably like 28.
All right. Hey, Joe, we're going to put you on speakerphone here. Oh, we got you on now. All right. Let's bring him on.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Hey, Danny.
Oh,
hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
Good. Had a little trouble getting in the studio tonight, huh?
I did. They're blocking me out, but you know what? That happens sometimes.
So I wanted to ask you tonight, tell us a little bit about ice conditions. I saw a press release saying that the ice road, at least the snowmobile trail up to the Northwest Angle is open, but talk about ice conditions across Lake of the Woods right now, the Minnesota section.
Yeah, things are coming on really, really well. You know, we're starting to have sleeper houses are getting pulled out, so people are sleeping in sleepers already. They're starting to go to deeper water. And, you know, when we talk about Lake of the Woods, you guys, it's so big that I never want to make a blanket statement because it really has to do with which resort or outfitter and their road or trail that you're going out on. And, you know, they're the ones that are responsible for keeping track of their ice and where they're at. And they avoid springs and cracks and ice upheavals and open areas early when ice shifted around. And so it's really important to, go out with a resort or outfitter. And on Lake of the Woods, we really don't have the public access areas to go out anyway. So you'll be doing that regardless. But just stay on the trails, especially during early ice. Communicate with them. Ask them how far off the trail you can go when you're going to go fishing. You just kind of get a lay of the land for the ice. But no, it's ice is getting good and thick, and we're seeing over a foot in many areas where they are fishing. And there's other areas where they're still finding 5 and 6 inches if you go off the trails. So you can't just go off on the trails. but nonetheless, ice is really good. They did stake snowmobile trails across both the east and the west sides of Lake of the Woods, all the way up to the northwest angle. So the snowmobile trails are all open, and things are going great. I mean, we don't have much snow on the lake, and we've had really cold temperatures lately, so it's doing really well.
So Lake of the Woods is famous for its giant walleyes. I was just showing that picture of you with that little fish you caught recently, and then the other thing that really I like about Lake of the Woods, especially late in the season, are these giant pike. If you had any recommendations in terms of locations and things, I mean, if you're targeting walleyes, what do you look for this time of year? And if you're looking for those giant pike, what are your recommendations there?
But I'll tell you what, if you're able to put that pike up, something was really cool about that pike is look at that eel pout hanging out of its mouth. It regurgitated about a 2 or 3 pound eel pout as it was coming up that hole. Look at that eel pout hanging up. I just think that's the coolest darn thing. And that's a big pike. That's I think it's over 44. And that's a big fish there. And those guys that were tip-up fishing really had a good day. But, so as far as the pike fishing goes, we do some pike spearing in the back bays early before we can fish the lake and such. We'll get going, real early pike spearing. People will do the tip-up fishing back in the bays. And then right now, there are some hardcore pike anglers that keep at it. Most people go after walleyes now. And most people go after walleyes all the way into March. And that's when pike fishing traditionally picks up again, is in March. Because, pike normally don't school, but they get congregated together because they're coming to the spawning areas and they're pre-spawn in big numbers. So that's where you do so well tip-up fishing. But there's a number of anglers that have kind of figured out that, hey, there's a lot of big pike in Lake of the Woods. And, there's times there, like right now, where I can still target them and pretty much have those pike areas all to myself. They're doing well. As far as the walleye fishing right now, we're doing the morning evening bite. We're getting some shallow fish in anywhere from 7 to 20 feet, 18 feet of water. There's always a morning evening bite on that shoreline. It's hit and miss, but if you hit it right, boy, I tell you can put some fish in the bucket real quick. The majority of the fishing is happening anywhere from that 18 to 24 feet of water right now. And they're catching a lot of fish. They're rifling through you guys, a lot of numbers, a lot of small fish, but they're getting their eaters. They're getting their slot fish to take a picture of and put them back. And they're also getting a good number of fish that we call them trophies, over 28. And so it's been going good. We have good population of saugers this year. Our walleye population is very healthy. We're a little bit lighter on some of the 18s and 19s right now. We saw that smaller year class coming through since the spawn. But when you're talking about the walleyes under that and over that, we're real good. We can follow those year classes when they have a good spawn or a little bit of a tough spawn. We can kind of follow those year classes typically all the way through, and that's kind of what we're dealing with now. So overall, good fishery.
That's awesome. Hey, Joe, if anybody's looking for lodging, if they want to fish off Wheeler or off of Stony or whatever, or even up in the Angle, where do they go for information on lodging?
Yep, we have everything on our website, and that website is lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
Awesome. Hey, Joe, we appreciate the time tonight. Good to see your smiling face. I'd like to see it with a hat and gloves on the next time we get together. So maybe Danny and I have to make a run up there in the next couple of weeks. And
would love to have you guys. I know a lot of guys, and gals use Garmin's up at Lake of the Woods with great success. So we'd love to have you guys.
Awesome.
Yes.
Joe, have a great Christmas. Thank you for coming by.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye. So Danny, we've got some prizes we're giving away tonight. What are we giving away?
Yeah, I think tonight we've got the Razr 6-inch Scout Auger that we're going to be giving away, of course, at the end of the show. So just remember, put in your comments, your questions. I think we're getting pretty flooded with questions and comments, and that's awesome. The more that we get, the more you are entered into these drawings for an auger like this, 6-inch Razr auger like Nick talked about, which is going to be an awesome giveaway. And then, of course, we've got that LiveScope lithium bundle behind you there in your office, which if you're not careful, people are going to find out where your office is and come pick that thing up because that LiveScope bundle has been hot this winter. So we've got some great giveaways. Be sure to get in on those. And, like I said, we are getting a lot of comments through, which is awesome. But the more that we see, the more chances you guys get to win.
Danny, what I'd like to do is Kristen Merwin's in. She's a former president of the Women Anglers of Minnesota. This group started in 1977, and was really interesting. I kind of had a conversation with her. We're involved in a couple other organizations together, but one that kind of blew me away is how many women were involved in the show last week, and we had a couple of winners, and we found out that they just broke their 1,000th member this year, and really the rapid growth started once they embraced ice fishing. So I wanted to bring Kristen in right now to kind of see what she's got going. Hi, Kristen, how are you? We need to get your sound on. Do we still have you on mute?
Now, can you hear me?
There we go.
I can hear you. Hey, talk to us a little bit about what is it about ice fishing that seems to really draw a lot of women to the sport?
Yeah, that was something that was, we tried. We had really low numbers, and dwindling numbers when we were just focusing on open water. And we kind of thought, geez, we're seeing a lot of women out on the ice, more so than driving their own boats on the lake. And so our board kind of got together and said, let's try to offer an ice trip. And so we teamed up with Geiger's Trail and Resort up on Bowstring. We posted the trip. We could take, I think it was like 40 or 45 women. And the trip sold out in 24 hours with Women Anglers of Minnesota. It was so, and we were in the situation where we would get 6 or 8, less than 10 people on our open water trips. And in 24 hours, we filled a 40, plus trip. And that was our first inkling that ice fishing is really an equalizer. I think when I think of female anglers and, my friends that were anglers, it's kind of intimidating. If you're just getting into fishing, you've got to have the truck, you've got to have the boat, you've got to have a trolling motor. It's a very expensive proposition to start with open water. And with ice fishing, once we get safe ice, you can drive your car out there, get out of your car and, with a hand auger and very little investment and really, do well fishing. And so I think that is a big reason why we're seeing so many women flooding into the sport. And the entry seems to be ice fishing for many of them.
I'm not surprised. I mean, it's not that expensive to get rigged up. I mean, like the Striker 4 ice bundle, Danny's $249 at Cabela's and stuff right now. It's a great unit. And then the Razr augers, they run about $100 to get in on a hand auger and stuff. So I can see that. Is there, what else about ice fishing that really seems to attract more and more women?
I think another part of it is it's really easy to do together. You call up, you can there's no limit to how many people can go together. You can have 20 people in a group together, where you're limited open water, and getting a seat in a boat is hard because there's not a lot of your friends maybe that have, boats. So I just think that the unlimited possibilities of ice fishing has really opened the door to get women into fishing.
So I know a lot of women are getting into fishing on their own, and I've had a chance to fish with a number of women the last couple of years that just really want to learn sport. So if there's someone out there that wants to help, and what are some of the things that maybe would help some of the women that are getting into fishing maybe later in life? How can other anglers help them get involved?
I'll tell you, there's no age limit for fishing, period, whether it's open water or ice fishing. And I think a great place to start is going to be a women's fishing club. I think that's a great place because you're going to find other women who love the sport. And what is very different about women's groups are, it's not this competitive, crazy, I'm not going to tell you how I was successful because I want to win this contest or this tournament. This group they just thrive on watching people catch their first fish and then get out there. And, some women, want to just be a better partner to their spouse. When they go fishing, they want to be able to help. Some women come into the club and they want to be fully independent and maybe one day be on someone's promotional staff. Some women, just want to meet other people who love to fish. I think what's cool about the women's clubs that are out there is that whatever angler you want to be, there's something for you there. You can be competitive. You can just learn. You can help others if you're an experienced angler. And so clubs like Women Anglers of Minnesota, clubs like Wisconsin Women Fish, they're there to be a network and a support system for you to come fishing and learn what you need to, or be a mentor to somebody else.
That's awesome. So, I know Michelle Moria just posted some stuff. What is the website? So if anybody wants to join,
The website for Women Anglers of Minnesota is womenanglersmn.com.
That's awesome.
And they've got it's a $30 membership that, per year. They've got great discount programs. They've got tournaments. They've got education sessions. They have this awesome speaker seminar. So there's just so much that's provided for that $30. It's a no-brainer in my opinion.
That's awesome. Well, hey Danny, have you got any questions for her before we let her go?
No, but I have a kind of a story that you remind me of, Steve, talking about this. She says there's no age limit to fishing, and I know you sent me a picture, I believe it was this summer, of a lady you had took fishing with you that caught, I believe it was a pike and a bass, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And how old was she, Steve?
98.
98 years old.
My wife's great aunt came out. She's come out fishing 4 years in a row now. She had an 11-pound pike 2 years ago. She had a 5-pound pike last year, a 4-pound pike this year, and one day she caught 6 or 7 3-pound bass all by herself. It was such a joy. It was pretty awesome. But
that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Kristen, thanks for joining us tonight, and have a great Christmas. And you forgot one person when you mentioned, the competitiveness, that Michelle Maury. She's hardcore competitive. So
no, Michelle isn't competitive at all.
I know she's out here tonight, so I got to give her a little bit of a hard time. But yeah. Well, thanks for what you do for both, WAM, but also Min Fish. And have a great Christmas, and we will see you soon.
Sounds great, Steve.
All right.
Bye.
Yep. Bye. Wow. It's rolling, dude. I mean, it's
it's funny. I'm looking at the comments tonight, and I feel like we have more ladies commenting tonight than we've had in the past as well. So it continues to show. And I think, I was actually ice fishing one year on Lake Mille Lacs when they were having one of their events, and it's fun to see how passionate they are about fishing. And it's like, being able to have that place to go to and that group of women to surround themselves with. It's great that there's organizations like that, I guess. No,
I think it's awesome just to see so many are out, and it's fun. I enjoy it. My daughter loves to fish. Karen loves to fish, and it's been really awesome. So, hey, I want to bring Tom, as Siri calls him, Kemos, on tonight. Tom Kemos is a top pro, Garmin pro, really does well on the National Walleye Circuit, but he's also a very passionate ice fisherman. And Tom, I'd like to bring Tom in right now. Tom, how you doing tonight?
Good. How's it going, fellas?
Doing good.
Thanks for being patient and sitting there. I saw you come on board, and it's just fun kind of having you up and running and back on with us tonight. But
I'm just basking in a sweet Packer victory, so life is good,
Well, we'll see you later.
Starting to smell like #1 seed, you know what I mean?
Oh boy.
Yeah. All I know is when they played the Vikings, they lost. So I mean, I'll take that as a victory.
That's true. That's your Super Bowl.
That is true. Hey, last week we covered shallow water panfish, crappie, bluegill. But one of the things that I know you're a big fan of is fishing basin bluegills. Talk a little bit about how do basin bluegills differ from, say, fish up shallow in the grass?
Well, one of the biggest things that I've noticed about the basin fish is that they go around a lot more. They're more of a pelagic fish, and they cover a lot of ground. They're out on the hunt for different baits, whether it's whatever they're feeding on, whether it's wigglers, bloodworms, small young of the year bait fish. But they're on the move. They're hunting down their their forage, and they're utilizing the depths, but a lot of that food is coming out of your mud basins. So a lot of these places that I'm going to target are places that have a good mayfly hatch. So you're going to want to look for areas that have mud flats, but I like to look for the mud flats that are in like your 20 to 30 foot of water. That seems to be a high percentage zone. And those fish are at times they're going to utilize the break lines, but for the most part, they're out roaming around. So it's kind of a 1-2 punch that I like to use. And now, with either our PS22 or our LiveScope kits, we're able to, it kind of takes some of the luck out of the situation. Whereas before you'd go out and you'd have to drill out the basin and just start hole hopping and hope to drop your transducer down on the pot of fish. Where now, I always try to go out with 2 or 3 buddies, to whereas you've got I call it a spotter, and then you've got the stalkers. So you drill one hole, you take a look at what you have in front of you, and as soon as you see signs of life, you start pointing the guys off to start drilling holes. And what's cool about this setup versus setting your LiveScope or your PS22 up, seeing the fish, and then walking over yourself and drilling on them, is that when you have a buddy fishing with you, you have the ability to see how those fish in that given body of water are reacting to your drills. So some bodies of water, you can drill on their heads all day long and it doesn't seem to affect them, but there's other places that I've found that they definitely scatter off the drill. And in those situations, having a buddy with you, once you recognize that, then what you actually are going to try to get way ahead of the fish versus dropping right on top of them. So a lot of times if you drop right on top of them, you're going to scuttle them. So what I try to do is I'll drill and I'll determine which direction the school is going. And this is another important piece of it too. I say the school. A lot of times in an open water situation, you're going to have a school of fish, and then you're going to have some kind of stragglers, and you don't want to get sucked into trying to catch those individual fish. Those are typically the most difficult fish to catch. You want to try to find that ball, the school. Those are going to be your most active fish. Typically, a big mistake that I see people make also in the open water scenario is if you have, let's say you're in 30 foot of water and you have fish from say 17 foot of water down to 25. A lot of times people will drop down and get like into that middle zone. What you want to do is you want to set up and you want to be fishing in the top of that school. 9 times out of 10, the most active fish are up on top, but there's a reason that those fish are up higher. And that's typically because whatever they're feeding on is a little bit higher in the water column. And that's why those fish are positioned like that. So the other thing is you don't want to reel through the school.
I'm going to throw you on hold real quick. Hey, Danny, what's the difference, practically speaking, between the PS22, the Panoptics versus the LiveScope in terms of searching for basin fish?
Well, and it's funny because I like that Tom points this out because I think he is onto this, obviously. And so we know LiveScope. We love LiveScope. Everybody talks about it, the great images that we get and how you can see the fish. But one thing when you're chasing these basin fish, and especially I think bluegills and crappies, where a lot of times they will be a little bit up off the bottom, there is nothing better than a PS22 Panoptics transducer for finding these fish. And the reason is you can see so far with a PS22. You've got that narrow cone angle, but the way that we get that image with that phased array, we can see so far. And so when you're looking for crappies, you're looking for bluegills, I mean, I will always grab my PS22 for that over my LiveScope. It's lighter. I can run it, a 7-inch in a small bag with a 7-inch screen, or I can just grab my Panoptix bundle. But PS22 for finding fish at distance is incredible. And I think that's kind of what Tom's alluding to, is he's literally looking for that big ball of fish and trying to get in front of that school, and doing that with a Panoptix transducer. You can save yourself a lot of time, because you can look almost seems like double the distance with that Panoptix transducer as you can a LiveScope.
We've had several questions in there. How far out can you practically see with the PS22 versus LiveScope?
The thing is, we're talking about cone angles here. So it is depth dependent. So, with a LiveScope, let's say we're in 25 feet of water, I might be able to see a suspended high school of crappies, 75 feet, something like that. But I've literally seen schools of crappies, you've been with me, Steve, where we've seen them at 220 feet away with a Panoptix transducer.
Yeah, so
the target separation isn't what it is with LiveScope, but finding schools of fish, there's nothing better than that PS22.
Moving blobs is as informative as a tail at a fish shape. LiveScope is phenomenal. I mean, it's exciting to know what's down there in terms of, hey, here comes a pike, or whatever. But if you're looking for a less expensive option that offers all the benefits of LiveScope, just not the detail, that PS22, I still love it for basin fish. Now, Tom, I know you're a fan as well. Hey, Tom, can you see, I'm going to throw a lake map up. Can you see that on the screen?
Yes. Yep.
All right. This is a lake that I just found online. Kind of take us through 1 or 2 or 3 locations that you would start your search for a basin panfish, basin bluegills on this particular lake, and why?
I would probably start it in that that southwest corner of the lake there.
Yep.
You can see how it's kind of like a funnel that opens up, and there's a big flat out there on that. It looks like it's the 26 foot contour, I believe.
Yep.
That's a classic setup right there. That's going to be a place where you're definitely going to have some mud there and some of the right setup for different types of insects and bloodworms that these fish are going to be pursuing. And it's also kind of the right setup for chara to grow also. At least, the lakes around here, and I'm pretty sure that that lake that you just showed us is a similar setup, but you're going to want to look for those real flat areas, and you can quickly track those fish down. But when we're talking open water, you do want to pay attention to those transition areas where it goes from sand to mud, where that mud transition area is, because a lot of times, like in a situation where I'm chasing bluegills, the biggest bluegills they'll actually utilize that transition. They like to travel on those corridors also, and a lot of times you'll have a weed break there. By weeds, I'm talking about the chara, which is the sandpapery grass that grows on a lot of these lake bottoms. But that'd certainly be a place to start. That looks to me like the nicest flat on that body of water.
How do you like that point on the right side of the map, just above where it says Spencer Lake?
Well, that would certainly, that's your deepest basin. That would also be another place to look. Without, I would certainly go look at it, but I would start at that other flat, see what you're looking at, and then work your way over. That point, that area out there that you showed me, that looks like a place to me where you if there was crappies in the lake, that would definitely be a place that I would be taking a peek at for crappies for sure. A lot of times they like those steeper breaks like that.
Yeah.
Close to the main lake basin.
Yeah. Hey, Danny, if you're fishing with Tom and he says, "Hey, drill over here," that's why he has the Panoptix, because he doesn't have to do the drilling then. Hey,
Mama didn't raise no dummy.
Yeah.
Hey, in terms of baits, are you actually using bloodworms?
No, for a basin deal, I rely pretty heavily on plastics. I find that a more aggressive approach is warranted in this situation because the fish, for the most part, I found are on the hunt, and so I like to use a little bit larger. I always start with anything red. Red is my favorite. It works with bloodworms, but it's weird because I found with situations where they're feeding on wigglers or that sort of a insect in the water that they like red in that situation also. So I'll typically start with a red plastic. I like just a straight tail, very simple, like a wedge type, like a licorice red plastic tail. I'll typically fish it on a size 12 or even up to a 10 jig. Now, the one thing that I will say is, everybody's onto the tungsten. I have found in a lot of situations where going to lead instead of tungsten can make a big difference, and that's water displacement. Typically, when you're basin fishing, you're on clear water, so you wouldn't think that's more of a dirty water deal. But I've definitely found that little bit larger profile seems to get the fish to commit a little bit more. And I'm not sure if it's that because it's displacing more water, that bait isn't moving quite as erratically, or what the situation is. But one little tip also that I want to remind everybody that I really like with a tungsten jig, and anytime I'm in open water, is I tie a loop knot versus tying direct. And what I found with that is you do get a little bit more action out of the bait. And once again, a lot of times we're dealing with real clear water, where especially bluegills, like, you don't ever want to give them too good of a look at your presentation. So I do like to have it set up so that without having to move it too much up and down in the water column, I can really get that bait to look like it's alive and swimming or trying to tread water, basically. So I think that's an important thing that people overlook, is that loop knot in ice fishing.
Danny, you've seen this a ton, and I've seen it especially on underwater cameras, but bluegills especially are, I don't know how they even eat, because it looks like they can never get anything in their mouth. They'd say they walk up to they swim up to the bait and they go like this, and they just never grab it. Are you using horizontal jigs or using vertical jigs? What are you typically using in terms of the lure itself?
Well, part of it, I think, is it depends on where you're fishing and, what kind of bluegills you're fishing. Because if you remember back, it's been 2 summers ago when we were doing some crappie fishing, remember those bluegills we were catching on paddle tails?
Yeah.
And it's like, you just wouldn't even think that. But I think if you're on a lake with some good sized bluegills and they're aggressive, I guess, it is surprising how big of a bait they will eat. But for me, when I'm fishing panfish, I'm almost always using a spoon because I'm trying to get in front of the school with the LiveScope or with the Panoptics. And if you can get in front of them, you know what I mean? A lot of times you're catching those active fish, but if I'm going to have to sit in an area or there's not as many fish, a lot of times I'm using a horizontal bait for sure, just because it just seems the way that it dances in the water. And I think I agree with Tom. I'll use tungsten, but I almost prefer sometimes a little bit lighter of a bait because it just seems like you get a little bit better action and a little bit better swim with that bait versus something that just drops and just sits there so heavy, So I guess loop knot is something I should definitely try. I haven't even really thought of that, but vertical or horizontal bait, I guess, is where it's at for me.
Tom, what are you running for line?
I like 1 or at the max 2 pound mono. I know we talked about this a little bit last week, but I'm a pretty big fan I like using spinning reels. And I really like the way the mono handles on those versus fluorocarbon. So like I say, most of the time I'm going to use 1 pound, but there's a few lakes where they won't let you get away with 1 pound. So in that situation, I will go up to 2 pound. And that's another thing, when you're fishing these basin areas, anything that swims in the lake could show up. We catch a lot of you wouldn't believe how many walleyes I've caught on a tiny little bluegill jig, and it's nice to be able to at least, there's nothing worse than hooking into a fish and not seeing it. Like I have to at least see the thing, but so in that situation, the 2-pound is kind of nice. But once again, I think I'm a little bit different in the line department where I am a pretty big fan of the mono still in most situations.
I'm a real fan of the fluoros nowadays. I do like they've become a much more flexible than they were in the early editions and the early versions, and I do like the invisibility. But the one thing that mono still beats fluoro is it's more flexible and more supple, and allows those baits to beat to move around. Hey Tom, I'd love to talk to you for another hour, but we're gonna have to let you go. We're running out of time already. But I hope you have a very Merry Christmas, and you're in our prayers, bro. You guys are. So
appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
You guys have a Merry Christmas. Take care, and hopefully we'll have some ice.
Yes.
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 We're getting out already. He's an amazing fisherman. I love watching him on the walleye thing and elsewhere. Danny, we've been jabbering so much, we just haven't had a chance to really get into the walleye stuff. I do want to talk a little bit about rattle baits. We've only got maybe 4 or 5 minutes at the most, but
yeah,
the last 2 years, I've always been a fan of rattle baits. The Berkeley War Pig is my favorite. We've had fish in my boat up to 12 pounds on walleyes on these, and I love fishing them in the summer. You throw them out, let them hit bottom, rip them up, let them fall, rip them up. And a lot of times when you rip them up, you've got this big head banger on there. And they're also really good over grass flats and especially weed humps when you got big winds. But I'm also become a very good, big fan of them for walleyes in the winter. And I don't know about you. You fish a lot of rattle baits?
Obviously in the summertime, definitely. I mean, if you want to be, when I was fishing tournaments still, I mean, I fished tournaments where that's what we did the whole tournament, and you couldn't move your arm for like a week after that, because you're just ripping those things. But I have in the wintertime, definitely, especially because the way I like to fish is quick. I don't like to, sit around and waste time. I'm moving, trying to get active fish, and those things just seem to definitely bring in the active fish. In the summer, there's no doubt. In the wintertime, yes, but I think once again, it's one of those things you got to be in the right bodies of water and in the fish in the right mood. But they'll get pretty much anything to bite. Pike, walleyes, everything, love them, and it just puts out so much action. You know what I mean? And a lot of times you can get them to come into that and then get them on your dead stick as well. So it's a good combination for everything, I guess.
There was so many people talking about rattle baits coming out of Lake Winnipeg, which is a dark water lake. And if you're going up to the Lake of the Woods, I can't tell you, this is a war pig. They come out in a 1/4 ounce and they've got a 1/2 ounce. Most of the time, I really like the 1/4 ounce for it. These are some of my favorite colors. The blue chrome has put some really big fish in there for me. The perch looks very natural, and the black chrome is really good. But I like to fish. This isn't a finesse situation. I'll fish it on 8 or 10 pound fluoro with a short, about a 2.5 foot leader. And I put a swivel on there to absorb the line twist. Yep. And then I'll go to a Fireline Ultra 8 or something, an 8, maybe even 10 pound test for the main line. And I'm not fishing this slow. I'm going to ram it down to the bottom, but there's kind of 3 techniques. I like to rip it, let it fall, rip it, let it fall. Or if I got fish coming up, I'll just kind of twitch it and bring it up. And the higher you get those fish off the bottom. But we had a day on Lake of the Woods last year. I think we caught 50 plus on war pigs one day on that 1/4 ounce. And you're not messing with baits. You're not messing around. You can tip them with a minnow head on the front hook or a piece of minnow on it. But a lot of times you just don't need to do that. And so I think the key is just have faith in the bait. I do know last year on my home lake, if I got to the fish house and I put the camera down, I'm in 6, 8, 10 feet of water, and I couldn't see a fish, I'd drop a war pig down the hole, go, and you could actually watch the fish come in. It was pretty amazing. The perch would come in first and others, but I do think it's a technique that you can use for bringing fish in and then having your other dead stick next to you. So it's a good combination, and it's really deadly on big pike. It's also one of those things that can draw fish in and then if you have a live bait, especially a big sucker or something next door, it might be good to go with. So you guys don't be afraid of any type of rattle baits. And I'm also a big fan of the Sabile Vibrato. You don't hear as much about those baits, but it's been a pretty awesome bait. So I wanted to do 10 minutes on this, but we're actually running out of time on this. So, hey, we had a bunch of questions last week that we couldn't get of. I look at the number up here. We've had well over 500 questions tonight.
Oh, gosh.
Troy, are you? I got to bring Troy back here real quick. Are you staying here till midnight, 2, 3 in the morning? What are you gonna do?
Hey, whatever it takes, you know.
Oh man, we've kept you busy, huh?
Yeah, that's some good questions tonight.
Yeah, they look like good questions that are coming through too, you know, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah. So I didn't think the Chiefs were going to pull it out the other, what was that, 2 nights ago, 3 nights ago?
Thursday night football, man.
Yeah,
that was badass, man. That's Mahomes and Kelsey there.
That was pretty awesome.
Yep.
Well, Troy, I wanted to say thanks on behalf of all the viewers tonight for your expertise and for being here tonight to answer questions. We're not here next Sunday. As a reminder, everybody, we'll be back next week or 2 weeks from now. So have a great Christmas. And so, Troy, we're going to let you go. But thanks again for being here and have a great Christmas.
Yep, you too. Thanks, guys.
Yep. See ya. Hey, Danny, we've got to pick our winner tonight for the our scout.
Yeah.
We've got to pick our winner tonight for the scout. And we had a question earlier about the 6 and 8 inches, the 7 inch. I do like the 7 inch. It's big enough for most of the fish that I'm typically catching, especially up to, medium size or, even large walleyes and stuff. And you're not having to cut as much as 8 inches. If you're looking for trophy fish, the 8 inch is nice. If you're fishing for target, like tomorrow, I'm bringing a 6 inch.
Yeah.
For those crappies that we're chasing and things like that. But let's check in with Kai. Kai, do we have a winner yet?
Yeah, looks like we've got the winner. Looks like congratulations to Kurt Morgan for winning the Razr Auger tonight. Way to go. Thanks
Kurt,
for the comments and the questions.
Yeah. And
That's
just a reminder, next week we're not going to be on, but everybody, thanks for joining us tonight. Danny, I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas as well.
Yeah.
And if you guys are out in Bozeman, we will see you guys on Christmas Day. We're heading out that direction. So
there we go.
Thanks at all. But everybody, we'll see you in a couple weeks. Have a great night.
Happy holidays, guys.